speaking of big-name guests, it's not every day that you can bring on and you can talk to a reigning state champion coach, let alone a guy who has won 2 titles in the last 4 seasons and 3 in the last 6. But that's the opportunity we have now. We are so happy to be joined by the head coach of the Shiner St. Paul Cardinals, is Coach Jake Wachsmuth. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Settle a bet for us. Pronounce your last name.
Wachsmuth.
Wachsmuth. Okay, because and the problem is, we were talking about this, that Texas is such a melting pot that I'm always very, whenever it's not like Smith or Johnson, I'm always very, tepid to go in and feel real confident talking to Wachsmuth. Well, I toyed with Wachsmuth, but I'm sure you get that all the time.
I get lots of different pronunciations.
So you are obviously one of the more successful coaches in private school coaching. You helped to bring the Cardinals a TAPS Division III state title this past year. I want to take you back to that title again. Your 43-40 win over Cedar Hill Trinity Christian. A very hard-fought game. You guys had gone through the season and not played a whole lot of games that were all that close. When you got to that game and you were playing this game into the fourth quarter, very close, was there any concern that maybe your kids didn't know exactly how to finish a close game like that?
Well, you do think about that as the year goes on. You kind of take each week as they come, and you look up, and we've gone through a streak during the season where we had not only won pretty convincingly, but we hadn't even let people score on us. So we'd gotten into the playoffs, and I think for the year, we'd given up, it was like 20 points, 20, 30 points. And, we'd won even the first 3 playoff games in pretty convincing fashion. Yeah, I don't know if you can really worry about it. You just kind of have to take it as they come. We knew that Cedar Hill was going to be an outstanding team and, a terrific opponent. They have phenomenal, players and, coach really well. But, I think obviously maybe the situation being later on in the year was very cold that night. I don't think, any kind of obviously heat wasn't going to be a factor. And I think when you go through the course of the season, I think through practices and even on those other games, I think you're in pretty good shape by that point. And plus you're playing just one game for all the marbles. And I don't think when kids get to that point, they realize all the hard work that's gone into it. I don't think they're going to really let anything stop them.
But then when you got to the end and the clock hits 000, is the feeling relief? Is the feeling jubilation? What's that feeling like on the sideline?
It's really hard to explain. I mean, it's and I don't want to sound cliche, but there's really nothing like it. We talked to the kids about it, and those days that you go up and you play for a state championship, and then you end up being on the winning end of that, and you realize that all the hard work is worth it. It's just one of those days that you really wish you could do, over and over again. But then I guess if you did that, then you wouldn't appreciate it as much. There's nothing that can describe it. I mean, when you are working with kids and those kids believe in each other and believe in what you're doing, and they are able to reach their goal, it's just unbelievable. I don't think it's relief. Yeah, I just think it's just about as happy as you can be, really. I mean, just to see how happy they are.
In this age where you've got kids who are watching the NFL and they're watching these crazy offenses, in college football, it's all about the offense these days. Your program has always been predicated on outstanding defenses. How do you get kids to buy in to play outstanding defense when really all they're watching are these wide open, throw it around, score a ton of points offenses?
Well, the thing is that even on top of that, I mean, I think we're kind of probably a little throwback or old school. My dad coaches the defense for us. And, of course, I grew up in his system when he was the head coach back in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s. And, back then it was a whole different situation. And some of the things that are being taught nowadays have probably evolved a little bit. And, we kind of still believe in the things that worked back then, and it fits our kids. So, we're a big believer on playing really good defense. We're a believer on, still running the football, and we certainly were able to throw off of that as well this year. But, our kids, if anybody were to ever talk about us, they'd know that we're a team that's going to run the football out of more traditional sets. it works for us. I don't know if it'll work everywhere, but I do know one thing. As football has evolved over the last several years, everybody's going more to spread you out. I think it actually gives us an advantage because I don't think people see it as much. And, I think whenever you're doing something that may not be, something that they see every single week, well, it gives you an edge. And our kids believe in it. Obviously, we've had since 2010. We've won in 2010, 2012, and again this year last year in 2015. Last year. It's gotten to the point now where we don't really have to sell them on it anymore. They know it's what we do. It's Shiner St. Paul football, and I don't think they really question. I think they believe in it. I think they absolutely believe in the philosophy.
We're talking with Jake Wachsmuth, the head coach of the Shiner St. Paul Cardinals here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. You mentioned your throwback style offense, and it all kind of began and ended with your big number 28, your running back TJ Bell, a guy who ran for nearly 2,000 yards as a junior and was fantastic as a senior, capping it off with a fantastic title game, over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. When you think back of over his career, over TJ Bell's high school career, what's going to stand out about him?
Just basically consistency. As a freshman, he was going to play probably more on the defensive side as a freshman, and he got hurt early in the season, had a knee injury. Came back his sophomore year and was able to step into a role on 2 sides of the ball that year. And from his sophomore year on, when he really started to play till this year, you could pretty much count on him day in and day out, giving you the same effort and the same production. And you can't say that, necessarily about everybody. Some guys have good games and bad games, and I guess you could probably say he did that, but you knew you were still going to get pretty solid production from him. He just kind of developed himself into being a really good running back, and this year I tell you the kind of athlete he is. He went on the defense his sophomore year from playing safety to linebacker to defensive end. So I think that gives you an idea of his overall athleticism. He could probably move back to the secondary and play, but he's also strong and fast enough up front where he can take on big linemen and still get to the football. So he's just you don't really get a lot of those. You just are very thankful when you do. And he certainly worked himself over the last few years into becoming the kind of football player that he is. And the state game, if you were to look before the playoffs started, I think he probably only carried the ball about 100 times all year because of the types of games we were in. And, that was probably – and he didn't mind. He's very unselfish. He knew we had a lot of kids on offense that could do things. And the state game, you just kind of always knew there was going to be a point in time, you're probably going to have to win a game, maybe in that fashion. And, he just did a great job, had a lot of rushing yards, caught a big touchdown pass, and had a huge kickoff return for a touchdown that put us over the top for good.
TJ Bell and his teammate Ryan Geiger heading off to Texas Lutheran in Seguin for the upcoming school year. And now you guys look forward. You look forward to 2016. Obviously, losing guys like TJ Bell, losing guys like Ryan Geiger, like Colton Machart, it's not going to be easy to replace those guys. But looking forward to 2016, what should we expect from your Cardinals?
I think obviously, especially at our level, every year you lose great seniors. Whether it's whatever the size class is, you're gonna lose those kids. And they were very special for our program. Obviously, the seniors that were on the bookends from 2012 to 2015 on being involved in 2 state game appearances, and obviously this year probably had a much bigger impact than they did as freshmen, but they were part of some good years. But the thing about this is, and it's kind of been amazing to me when I came here in 2008, and we're like that every year. Every year we lose great kids, and it just seems like the younger kids learn. We've got a class of seniors coming in. We're going to have about 8 or 9 seniors next year. That a lot of them have played this year, maybe not in starting roles, but maybe as half a starter. We've got we do have some starters coming back, and I think a couple of years ago we won, and we had a situation where we were very, very low numbers in our junior-senior class the year after 2013, and that was a hard year because we had a lot of freshmen, sophomores starting. But I don't really anticipate it being that way. I think next year will be mostly a junior-senior team. We'll have some sophomores that will, I think, earn some playing time. And we never know what we're going to get out of our freshmen. It seems like every year we get a freshman or two that they do more than we think you're going to get out of freshmen because you don't know what to expect. So, I think that, I think the tradition at our school is obviously special. I think the kids, it's not like they're just going to step right into those roles, but I think they're excited about the challenge. And, obviously you miss the kids that you had, but that's just kind of the nature of this. It's a chance to start new and to build a new team. I would just add this: if you can harness this, and I know every coach would probably like to do it, the chemistry that we had on this year's team, not just with our seniors, but just from every player, and not having to worry about, who touches the football, who gets the ball, do we throw the ball enough, who's playing. This is something that some people say, but it's true. We didn't have any of that this year. And I think that was the key. We had a lot of good players. I will grant you we had talent. I think that'll be the biggest challenge, is whether we can just kind of harness and try to reestablish that great team chemistry. And if we can get that, I think we'll be okay.
We're talking with Jake Wachsmuth, the head coach of the Shiner St. Paul Cardinals here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation, #DCTF Live. Coach, one last question before we let you go. Obviously, you guys have built a real juggernaut of a private school program there in Shiner. The other team in town, I'm sure you've heard, is doing pretty good things as well. Shiner High School, not bad. I guess my question is, what is in the water in Shiner?
It's a special place. Obviously, both schools made good runs this year in football, and not just in football, but it's really across the board. You look at the other programs: basketball, baseball, softball, track and field, cross country, whatever it may be. I would just say you have, we talk about our offense and defense being more of a throwback. I think Shiner's kind of a throwback town. It's very traditional. A lot of hardworking families that instill hard work in their kids. And, I'm not going to say we don't have some very blessed athletes, because we do, but I've been around long enough to know that's not everything. We just got tremendous work ethic. And I think the people here, that's a credit to them and the way they raise their kids, because you don't have to worry about maybe some things that can tear teams apart. And, it's just a special place. Unless you live here, it's hard to explain. But we're very fortunate, very blessed.
He is Jake Wachsmuth. He is the head coach of the Shiner St. Paul Cardinals. Coach, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your off season, and congratulations on a fantastic 2015. I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me on.